Part 1 of Criminal Procedure. The Fourth Amendment. Under the Fourth Amendment, you are free from unreasonable arrest, search, and seizure. Seizure occurs where a reasonable person would believe that they are not free to leave. That's from Terry. You may use the language that an officer intentionally, by force and or show of authority, terminates and or restrains the freedom of movement of an individual. Passengers of a car that has been stopped are also considered seized. That's from Brendlin. A stop and frisk may be a seizure if your movement is restrained either physically or by a show of force. An arrest warrant may be obtained by a third-party neutral on a finding of probable cause that a crime has been committed by the defendant. Now, if a warrant is defective, the arrest is not invalid if the officer had probable cause independent of the warrant. Looking at an arrest warrant and entry into arrestee's home. An arrest warrant authorizes entry into the home of the arrestee if there is probable cause the arrestee is present. A warrant is unnecessary, however, if exigent circumstances exist or you have consent to enter. That's from Peyton. Exigent circumstances would be you're chasing the person into the dwelling. Looking at an arrest warrant and entry into the home of another. In other words, a person not the arrestee. An arrest warrant does not authorize the police to enter without a search warrant, does not authorize the police to enter the home of another without a search warrant. So the arrest warrant does authorize them to enter the home of the arrestee, but not a third party unless they have a search warrant. Or, again, unless there are exigent circumstances or valid consent. That's from Stiegald. And the exigent circumstances, again, may be chasing them into the dwelling. We will address valid consent later. A warrantless arrest. There's no need for a warrant if the felony and or misdemeanor is committed in the officer and or citizen's presence. If it's a public place, there's no need. That's from Watson. What is a search? A search is conduct that violates a reasonable expectation of privacy. It's from Katz. This must be conduct by a government actor or the result of government action. Looking at search in the context of trespass and or curtilage. The curtilage is the area immediately surrounding your dwelling. That may be a search. That's from Jardines. Or the police employ GPS tracking to gain information about you. That may also be a search. That's from Jones. Looking at a search and what is a home. What is a home in the context of a search is any place that the defendant has a right to immediate possession. That's from Chapman. That may include a renter. It's also from Chapman. An overnight guest. It's from Olson. Or a hotel room inhabitant. That's from Stoner. Going back to curtilage in the context of a search, you have to consider what is curtilage, consider proximity to the home, the existence of fences and or enclosures to keep people away, the greater the degree of measures taken to keep people out of the area, more likely it will be considered curtilage. Consider the nature and or use of the area. If it's private, more likely it's curtilage. And steps taken by the resident to protect the privacy. So consider those in determining whether the area searched is curtilage. That's from Dunn. Search in the context of prisoners. Prisoners have no expectations of privacy. That is to ensure security, order, and discipline of the institution. And that is from Hudson. Seizures of automobiles. For the police to seize an automobile, they must have reasonable, articulable suspicion that a crime has been committed. Checkpoints are okay if they're neutral, articulable standards, and they serve a purpose closely related to an issue affecting automobiles. Sobriety checkpoints are okay. That's from SITS. Drug checkpoints are not okay. That's from Edmund. Police demand for a voice or handwriting sample is not considered a search, and that is from Dionisio and Mara. Demand for a voice sample is not a search. That's from Dionisio. Demand for a handwriting sample is not a search. That's from Mara. A flyover is not a search in a helicopter. Flyovers your property to investigate are okay. If it's by a chopper, that's fine. That's from Riley. If it's by a plane, that's fine. That's from Ciarolo. Using technology to conduct a search. Technology that is not in use by the general public to ascertain previously unknowable details without physical intrusion is a search. That's from Kylo. A drug dog is okay if there is no physical intrusion into protected area. That's from Cabales. And that ends part 1 of criminal procedure. Conduct a search.